Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction or read through for the middle third of Reiwa no Dara-san Volume 3. We've got chapters 21, 22, and 23. I am so excited to read because, again, ever since I've started reading, I've been completely obsessed with the series. I love that we've been continuing on with the flashback stuff here at the beginning. I love the introduction of, like, Amane is a new character who I think last read through, she was introduced the read through before last, and last read through we didn't really get much of any more of. But generally, I've just been loving every bit of it, but you all already know that. And even here I have, well, behind my setup, I have a bookshelf. But I said last time I was waiting for them, I have Volume 3 here, and I love with the Volume 3 cover, we have continuing flowing around to the back with these two idiots. I completely love them. So either way, it's neat to have that. I actually was just flipping through it when I first got it, and I think I saw that we might be getting another swimsuit chapter or something. I may have been spoiled on that. I may have seen a glimpse, but again, I didn't go look for it afterward. Again, I just flipped through the pages really quickly. But that is something I think I maybe saw, unless, again, I'm schizoing out. But I think, checking my tracking, I have yet another week or two to wait for volumes 1 and 2 to get here. And with all that aside, the one last thing I'll say before we continue reading, because I said before how much I love everything that we've been doing with the manga, with the story itself. I am not going to be doing any more anime updates, because I dropped the anime. I couldn't make it through episode 3. After seeing the censorship by removal of stuff, I was like, okay, screw this. I couldn't make it through the rest of the episode. And if, when the Blu-ray version comes out, things have been added back in, maybe I'll give it another chance, but as of right now, I am not going to support the anime. I mentioned before just being so sick of censorship type stuff, and it would be one thing if it was just the fan service, but again, even with that, anyone who would complain, be a Karen over Kaoru and Hinata fan service would also complain about Dara-san fan service. You're not winning anything there. And also, some of the jokes, they've left in some actual, like the Miwa jokes and the teacher jokes from episode 2, they left those in, so it's like, again, anyone who would be upset about that fan service would also be upset about those jokes, so it really feels like you're alienating people who have supported you. I saw somebody say it's a middle finger to fans of the series, and yeah, it kind of is, in my opinion. I've been through this before, like with, I will use as an example, Blue Reflection. So Blue Reflection, I bought the first game, absolutely loved and adored it, even reviewed it almost 10 years ago. I loved it so much, even though I don't do game reviews, it just meant so much to me. So when, Second Light came out, they made a sequel, I, again, bought it when it came out, full price and everything, which again, is not something I'm usually doing for games. So earlier this year, maybe sometime last year, they announced they were doing, a full sort of collection for Blue Reflection with both of the first 2 games and a revamped single-player version of the gacha. So again, I guess it's not going to be gacha, or however it'll work as a revamped single-player version, and also including, again, how is it, they're including Blue Reflection Ray, which is the anime, but how is that going to work? Like, I think they said it was playable, but I'm going to say maybe not. Like, what do they mean by that? What do you mean by that? And that would be extremely exciting news for a game series that I thought that they had killed by making a gacha of it, that went nowhere like most gachas do. So that would be really, really exciting. But then you find out that they're going to censor it. And again, the first game, not even 10 years old, really. So that just shows how far we have fallen as a society, that we're not talking about things pre-2010 or even things pre 2000s in general. We're talking things less than 10 years ago getting censored on re-release. That's how bad things have gotten. And everybody just said, okay, I'm not buying this, what the hell? And even now, any single post that they make about it, all of the comments, all of the replies basically are just saying, yeah, this is censored, I'm not buying it. If you make it uncensored, I will buy it. You have people, me included, who supported you by buying things full price and are saying, we will give you money. We have given you money before, we will give you money again. But you're saying censorship is more important than you. We know that you've supported us, but we will say no, even though you're willing to give us your money. We don't want any of your money, people who have supported us until now. We're going to please censors, or we're going to please people that are not even supporting us and probably will never. Like, maybe they'll be the first people to find the elusive modern audience, but nobody's been able to find them so far, so I don't think they will. And this is a similar sort of situation where, like I brought up, the people complaining about the fan service are going to be people who wouldn't support you anyway. So it just feels like the people who have supported what the series is so far, you're taking away things that appeal to them. And who are you going to be left with? Is it going to be a new audience? No, they're still going to be turned, like, if they watch the anime, they're still going to be turned off by that content in the manga if you're saying we need to censor it for them. And if you're censoring it for television censors, again, at some point, I think that creatives and fans have already said we don't want this, but I think that at some point creatives need to have a backbone and say, screw you, we're not censoring things, because when we censor things, people don't pay for them anymore. I think that at some point you've gotta say something like that, but I was just bringing it up in a similar vein to Blue Reflection, where it's like, you have people that have supported you, you know what works, you have your niche audience, but you're trying to appeal to people who aren't supporting you, who aren't going to support you. And it would be one thing were they just censoring fan service, like I brought up, but they're leaving out jokes. They're leaving out things that, not just jokes, but things like Hinata's, Hinata's, like, you know, Boner Fiasco and Perv War 3 and Dara-san's what the hell are you talking about response. Some of the funniest and most memorable jokes are going to be left out because of censorship like this. So again, it's just one of those things where they are free to do whatever they want with the series, with the anime, but I'm not going to support the anime if it's censoring things by leaving them out like that. And, you know, best of luck trying to find people who prefer things that way. But again, all you're doing is alienating the people who are straight up supporting you while not gaining anyone or anything new in the process. So that's my take on it. Because again, it might be one of those things where it's like, okay, for television's sake, they weren't allowed to include it, even though they're allowed to include this other stuff, which again, at some point as a creative, you just need to say, that's ridiculous, we're doing it anyway, screw you, because fans want it that way. But it might be on the Blu-ray release. So again, months and months from now, I may check out the Blu-ray release if things are added back in. But as for where things are now, I'm not going to be supporting the anime. That turned into a much longer off-the-rails discussion that, again, the anime is just one small thing, but in the broader context of everything else within anime and manga and light novels and video games especially being censored, video games are really hit the hardest. With all of this other stuff, in a vacuum, it's like, I don't care that much, but when it comes to the grander scheme of everything else, it's like, okay, I'm not supporting this. And also, like I said, if it was just the fan service, I'd be like, okay, that's, you know, one thing, but you're leaving out jokes. And like, they still leave in Dara's facial expression reactions and stuff, but now there's nothing there that she's actually reacting to. So you're just missing the jokes. So one thing to censor fan service, but to actually be censoring the jokes themselves, I think is a broader problem. But either way, I'll probably make a chapter mark here for people who don't want to sit through the long Haku intro. So yeah, probably won't be talking about the anime anymore after this video. Probably not. Again, unless the Blu-ray comes out and it's restored and I watch and talk about the Blu-ray version, then yeah, not going to be talking about the anime anymore probably. So just wanted to bring that up since that's something I had been doing at the beginning of the weekly videos. But now for those interested in the actual read through, let's start actually reading. So we start with chapter 21, how the twin exorcist priestesses prevailed over Yamatagi Madara, how they had protected the village, what should be done now that they're gone, and what's going to happen now. Jirota attempted to decipher what he could from the remaining records, but being a layman, could only understand that the tragedy in the western village is not yet over, or so they said. All he knew was this terrible fact. But fortunately for both him and for the village itself, Jirota-sama, Jirota-sama, Jirota-sama. Censored, Dono? Please listen to me. The serpent is wounded and asleep. In the meantime, I've left behind 3 traps. One is Harara, scattering. Everyone's fear of the everlasting serpent is what gives it strength. We'll scatter that fear to disrupt the snake's healing. The next is Uchikago, transfixed cage. We'll capture the aimless cursed arm and conceal it. The curse's power may concentrate, but we'll ensure it doesn't leak out. The last is spirit thrush. These will ring out in the presence of a curse and will follow my presence having become one. If you or anyone else hears the sounds of bells in the mountains, I beg of you please just run away. For them, they fortunately had the benefit. I know it may not be my place to say this now, but please live a long and fruitful life. Oh, and please, you might think it disgraceful and immodest of me, but please. Then they had the benefit of time, if only a little. I hope that you will remember me. From then on, he would use the time he'd been given to deal with the impending calamity. A dream. Back in those days, the infant mortality rate was extremely high, and the average life expectancy was less than 20 years. In such an era, he lived to the age of 62, passing away on a certain June day. No, that's not quite it. It was something she entrusted to me, with every last bit of her strength. He was said to be in good health and free from illness until that day. And now we have 21st Strange Encounter. Really, really good intro. Again, I am loving what they're doing with the flashback still, and I hope we just continue on with it because the structure of the manga is so good. And we start off with a Kaoru, Tomita, and Kozue, I think was her name, frontispiece. The pool opening. Okay, well, immediately we might have some sort of episode. It varies depending on the region. And we see translation note May newsletter, and we have the pool opening June 12th. But at Kaoru School, it kicks off in mid-June. Can't wait to go to the town pool next month. Ooh, hehehehe. That's Wednesday, huh? Didn't you take a couple of days off around that time last year? That's right. A monk takes our whole family up into the mountains to do something all night long. I've heard that it's been going on for a really long time. My brother and I have to tag along in the morning, and it goes on all day. I guess, too, they are still trying to keep the Yamatagi Madara itself, even though it's now rolling the reincarnation gacha until ending up giving up on that and possessing Amane. We have it, and they're trying to keep its power from building back up still, I guess carrying on Jurota's will, really. Then my brother and I have to tag along in the morning, and it goes on all day. But, like, what's the point? Is it a gravesite visit kind of thing? Well, the monks do a bunch of Buddhist prayers. I think it might be, but I'm not exactly sure who they're mourning. They say it might be a foreigner's grave because one of the only things remaining on it is a pattern that resembles a cross. In any case, they tell me to make sure to take good care of it. It's our land, so it's been in our care for generations. That's what Kanna said. The place where they held the flea market the other day is called Jofukuji Temple. It stands at the foot of Mount Ukoma, the eastern mountain. The oldest graveyard in town can be found on its mountainside. It lies in the deepest part of that place. Its original shape is indistinct and inscribed characters unreadable. I love how I love the small town Japan setting in general. Like, that's something that I loved about Persona 4, for example, but I just think it's a really cool setting. But to, like, take this setting and do so much lore and world building, like, we're doing world building, but for, like, I am sorry if you keep getting distracted by me scratching my nose. I keep getting distracted by it. It just feels like a tiny hair keeps brushing up against it, and it's, like, really, really annoying me. But sorry, I digress. I love how we're doing this world building, this lore for this small town. It's so cool. I love it so much. And it's being done so well. Whether it's a memorial, monument, or a grave, or perhaps the remains of some other sacred ritual isn't clear. Such is the nature of the large black moss-covered stone said to rest there. So we came to ask the most relevant party, and then to Dara-san. That's an interesting way to get right into it. Like I told you before, I can only clearly remember the last 100 years or so. I'm a little familiar with the situation there, but I can't really fill in the details from that hazy period, you know. When thinking about the intro that I did for this, much longer intro than I expected, I just remembered something that I thought I was going to say during the intro. Wild. What I was going to say is, it's like, okay, we're censoring swimsuits and we're censoring, like, Hinata's joke and all, when I have seen Kaoru's ball wrinkles. I have seen him losing gallons, shooting beams, beeping the guppy, and while I'm not saying that we should be animating that, and certainly not the non-canon, doujinshi, it's just a swimsuit. But I digress. Besides, I have no reason to go there so long as the body of Yamatagi Madara resides within me. And after all, it doesn't really feel that good to go to the place where you were killed. Why don't we go check it out? Pose. Really? You know, we also never bothered to go deep into the mountains over there. Well, I suppose I'm not entirely unrelated to this matter. Then I'll change out of these clothes and invite my sister too. Okay, so we're going to be sneaking into the western mountain then. Oh, okay. Blazer raps of despair like a sail cutting through the headwind. Make a step, make a step. They're singing the opening, I'm assuming. That reminds me. You told us how far back you can remember clearly, but at what point did your memories up until then remain clear? And we have about 100 years ago, hazy period, and died at age 26. Okay. Are you sure you didn't just forget everything since it happened a long time ago? I guess that could be true. I'd been traveling across the country since I was young. I settled down in this land after stealing the serpent, but in the end, my life was taken and I became a vengeful spirit. I had to endure many hardships, but nevertheless, I enjoyed my life in these mountains, as short as it was. I see. So it only became fuzzy after that vengeful spirit melding. That sounds about right. Maybe not immediately after. There are a few things. And again, I've praised so many different things about the writing, but again, maybe the strongest thing about the writing has been how well Dada's identity and personality and stuff has been done. Ah, there it is. And we see the shrine marker there. So is this really someone's grave after all? I'm not exactly sure. Even you don't know. Nope. I guess maybe Jurota made... This could be really emotional. Maybe Jurota made it. But since she hasn't been around here again, really, since becoming Dara-san, she never saw it even though they've been taking care of it for all this time. But most likely, whatever this may be, this other humble nameless stone sits at its side. No, the character for 10 is engraved on that stone. If it's truly you who rests beneath it, I pray that, if you laid there purely for the sake of nestling close to my remains, it might be my grave from the time when I was human. Because, of course, the symbol for 10 would be Ju as in Jurota. So there's this big stone, maybe made for her, and the little stone for him beside it. Right. What's wrong? Nothing, it's just that we were kind of reminded of the fact that you're actually a person who died, or something. You got that right, and I'm a great scary god-eating vengeful spirit. Former vengeful spirit. Finally, they were, like, reminding themselves that she was actually paranormal again. But in the end, you just turned into Omatagi-chan. And that's the first time I've heard it as Omatagi-chan. The incense has everyday fragrance. Maybe the people you helped back in the day built it for you as thanks. Maybe. That could be true. Anyway, you said earlier that you had a lot happen to you. So what's the last thing that you can remember clearly? And then bonked. Well, from the start it was never really my goal to cause a massacre. I was filled with a burning rage, and that was mixed with the fear of what I had already done to those who were innocent. It was necessary for me to come to terms with what I had done, to find time for myself to work through that. That's what I think. At that time, I didn't really have the leeway to do so, but I was able to buy a little time to some degree. And so I told, and we have, the last steps that we saw in the flashback that she was taking. I told them that, and then she remembers kissing him at the end, conveying that, or like that kind of, and then, ouch, that's actually the way it went, with her bonking into him trying to do it. Well, I guess that part's a bit hazy too. She's getting hit with the dark memories, the dark, romance memories. Very, very vague. In any case, if this really is something that's connected to me, and the Tomita family's been devotedly attending to it over hundreds of years, then I suppose I must express my gratitude to them somehow. We have seen so many expressions of Dara-san's gratitude so far, and it's always a bit odd. Tomita-san. Oh, good morning, Misugiya-kun. And then he takes her hands. Thanks for everything. Yeah, leave it to me. The Tomita family won't have to worry about the next generation of caretaking. Then we have a page for the light beam technique. A technique that Dara-san hastily prepared to indulge Kaoru's selfish request. To prevent it from firing off accidentally, she added a system that made it only fire when the two crests overlap. In this time, when she was still a shrine maiden, the system was originally referred to as Kasane Chomon, or heavy ivy crests. By overlapping and shifting the two crests, the user's spiritual energy is expended to fire a purely cosmetic beam of light. In addition, it generates a light, refreshing breeze when fired for an extra touch of exhilaration. The intensity of the light produced is slightly stronger than that of a fluorescent lamp, so it won't cause immediate blindness if shown into the eyes, but prolonged exposure is dangerous. For this particular technique, Dara-san added a second safety measure. It can only be used within her territory, in this case, just on the Misugiya family's mountain. To prevent them from doing anything stupid, she did not expect their mass production methods. And then we have them firing beams at each other. You got me. They learned to regulate any needless power output and were now able to play airsoft type games. And then we have Urge to Piss Man. That's the opening that they were singing. Break the trap of despair like a sail cutting through the headwind. Take a step, or is how the song actually goes. And what Kaoru said was blazer raps of despair like a sail cutting through the headwind. Okay. Then a tokusatsu era hero created near the end of the Showa era. The protagonist is a young man who transforms when he's holding back the urge to pee. Kaoru sings the opening song in Chapter 21. He can maintain his powered-up form until his bladder overflows and he urinates. If he doesn't release it into space by the time it happens, the toxin it contains will destroy all life on Earth, including the monsters that, not understanding this, mercilessly attack his lower abdomen. This keeps viewers on the edge of their seats for various reasons. At first glance, it may seem like a silly and vulgar story, but in those days it was common to hear things like, going to the bathroom during class is embarrassing. I always get asked, can't you hold it until after class? People always make fun of me when I go during school. The show was created as a way to bring attention to this alarming trend, the late 80s. Very cute. Again, I love everything. The way that the world, again, with all the video games and shows and everything that are explained. The world building is so great. It was a really touching moment finding out about Dara-san and Jurota's probably graves. I can't wait for more, though. I really can't wait for more of the characters and everything. And also, we got the hint about the pool opening, but we didn't get that in this chapter, so I guess that is just hinting at something that's going to be coming in the future. Chapter 22 starts with another flashback. Was it a dream, or was that reality? After his chance encounter with the priestess who had transformed into some bizarre form, Jurota worked to an early summer afternoon filled with the sound of cicadas. An unfamiliar message written on a brand new wood slip was left at his bedside. Its rough characters were hurriedly carved, appearing as if they'd been scratched in with some hard object, perhaps due to a lack of time. Though it was somewhat difficult to make out, in a word, it was a manual describing 3 techniques left behind by that thing which used to be the priestess. That could be understood as provisional measures to deal with existing threats that remained in the mountains. Having been defeated and sealed once before, the one half of the serpent was now free, but was significantly exhausted from its rematch with the twin priestesses. The serpent, which had expended much of its power, needed to rest in order to regain the strength required to assert control over the priestess's body. The priestess managed to seal it away for as long as she could also keep her cursed arm sealed. With this grace period, the next time it can bear its fangs will be in around 7 years. Jurota spent the first 6 months reviewing the remaining documents. 2 cursed arms, bound in the mountain, the serpent's head sealed away and hidden, and the sound of bells which rang from the former priestess's serpent body. Their locations were all determined with the information he was left with. He told his boss, his mentor, and the man who raised him, in whom he placed his full trust, about those locations and the dangers they held. Ironically, the curse of the serpent was made more credible by the death of the priestess's family. Since you're a foreman with some influence both in the eastern and western villages, you'll be able to more easily convince the villagers not to approach those places. Jurota then bowed before his master and announced to him that he was leaving the village. Carrying nearly all of the items he had collected from the shrine in the priestess's home, Jurota was now headed to a place mentioned in an old letter of introduction found among the priestess's possessions, the capital, where the priestess's master was said to reside. The monster called Dara-san was, as a human, earnest and diligent. She had a knack for learning various skills on her own. This trait stayed with her, even after she became a non-human being. Our story begins, and we're fading from the flashback into mangaka Dara-san, at a time when the deep scars of the Sengoku period had not yet healed. In such an age, a pair of twin priestesses were called upon to defeat a great demon. That drawing's so amazing, and we have 22nd Strange Encounter. Right side, the birth of Yamatagi Madara, and we have the younger sister and elder sister. Her art style is great. That drawing's so amazing. The savage god Yamatagi Madara's head was severed and sealed away. However, once sealed, the curse it left behind unleashed a wave of disease, igniting a frantic scramble to contain its spread. She hesitated. In this era of diverse media, once a rumor begins to circulate, it's impossible for it to return to obscurity. At a moment like that, the seal containing the gigantic body of Yamatagi Madara broke. And then, dun dun, he has sound effects playing as well. Eh? If the world were to somehow learn that the enormous body of a serpent Aragami still sleeps in these mountains, even by chance, it can't be guaranteed that a single foolish act brought on by this revelation wouldn't open a gaping hole through which the curse would unleash. Which was bad, because I was the one in charge of the body seal, and we see the East and West, sister and sister, on bad terms, the head and the body. Some of the villagers incited to believe that I was responsible for everything, including the disease, waited until I was exhausted from my battle against the serpent to cut off my limbs. She had to be careful not to divulge any information inadvertently, especially anything which pertained to the secretly still sealed serpent. Huh? I'll never forgive them. I'll never forgive them. They're punching out the windows. Previously, with Chiyo, their mother, I placed a curse, or rather a spell, to prevent her from speaking of it. But what if by chance, moreover the breaking of the serpent's seal, and the incitement of the villagers, the truth was to be exposed somehow? What if the presence that I felt on occasion since the other day somehow becomes some kind of new threat that I have no knowledge of? We're all part of a scheme orchestrated by my sister, the other priestess. Seriously? Or are you setting me up too, One-chan? Occasionally. Anyway, I have no way of really knowing what her motives were. But in the end, she chose to brutally execute me herself. That's pretty messed up, if such a situation should arise. One day these kids who have become connected to me will manage the mountain. There may come a time when I'll need to rely on their strength. Such were her thoughts. Then it was kind of like the serpent was crazy pissed and started freaking out, and I was crazy pissed and started freaking out after my legs were turned into snake bait. So the new incarnation of Yamatagi Madara came about through some kind of combining summon. And then sound effects again. That turned real sloppy real fast, and we have the summon illustration. She avoided mentioning Jurota. Sorry that it took so long, but this is everything you wanted to know about me. But, well, if the body combined with you, then what about the head that was chopped off? You mentioned before that the arm of the shrine is there to seal the serpent's contamination, but I decided to tell them all that I knew about the mountain. Indeed, it is not me who is truly sealed in that forbidden zone, but the great demon Yamatagi Madara's still living head. Well, we'll let you deal with that. A giant snake? Seriously? Whatever. No thanks. They're not interested at all. Her face. Are both of your arms still in that shrine? No, just the one, I think. Then where's the other arm? I don't know. Her face. Huh? I don't know. I guess I didn't realize it was gone before. Really? Dara-san's faces have been so good. Is that really okay? All of their faces, really. I avoided mentioning it before, but it's probably fine to talk about now. The fever, sickness, and pain in your limbs that you experience in the Forbidden Zone are all part of my curse. It's a deterrent to keep people away. A long time ago, I used to use a curse that would crush limbs and kill people, too. Most of the recorded incidents you can look up today were caused by people carelessly coming into contact with my severed arm. And then we have their reaction to that information, and we see a little bit before of what happened to El Kusaha. But nothing much has happened in the last few hundred years. The arm that's not in the shrine must have been handled by someone who knew what they were doing. I see. So basically, it's something like this. The lewd god must be protected, important, protecting the seal while gaining strength. Then sealed shitty garbage poop gutter scum snakehead, our mountain. Visually, this composition seems a little unbalanced. If that's the case, we'll take care of that snakehead and figure out what to do with the newly unemployed arm. And the two of their ideas. Then Dara-san would be free to go. Huh? I guess. I suppose that would mean I wouldn't be stuck here. But at the same time, I would lose my reason for existing. Actually, I don't know what would happen to me. You'd be released from the Forbidden Zone, Dara-san. And then don't talk about it like some alternate version of me would become an unlockable hidden character. And then we see, Shinohara Kozue and Dara-san and released from the Forbidden Zone Dara-san. Whose room do you want to come live in? Are those the only choices I get? We could also go with the scenario where you're an American girl who lives at my house as part of a homestay if we dye your hair blonde. If that was the case, it would be for a limited time only. These two, they're not even considering the thought that I might just disappear. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But really, destroying the serpent. The seal's a barrier that cuts it off from the outside world. We can't interfere with it at all in that state. I mean, really, the serpent is just the mountain's god, essentially. It is just some ancient being. It's not necessarily evil. And I feel like with it being kind of in a way trapped in Amane at this point, I feel like what we might end up with is just a kind of redemption arc, but I wonder if this does mean that the end of the series has had some thought into it, and if we are just going to basically exercise and make peace with Dara-san and the Yamatagi Madara. And if the Yamatagi Madara / Dara-san is at peace, then does the series end with them just in peace and going to the afterlife or something? Then the seal's a barrier that cuts it off from the outside world. We can't interfere with it at all in that state. If we wanted to defeat it, we'd have to risk unsealing it. Right now, I'm using much of the power taken from my half of the serpent to suppress that very half within myself. But I suppose that there was a possibility that I could do something. If that serpent bastard used up all of its stockpiled energy for one reason or another, or its soul or life force was weakened, then just maybe. And we have menacing aura. His soul, having lost the majority of its power imbuing Amane's body with spiritual energy, had also been split in order to possess her. I had heard that he was a sly mountain god who'd already lived for 200 years before we sealed him. Does such a convenient story really exist? Well, that's basically the whole story, so don't go messing around the shrine. That's one thing I can't help you with. Oh, that's so precious that you'd cherish our little lives. Honestly, I'm not that interested in the shrine's contents now that I know what's inside. Then we're home. And we see that Chiyo has found the Dara-san. Kaoru, this is Yamatagi Madara, isn't it? The shading on all of this. Isn't it cool? It's super cool. They sat for a while to fangirl together. Jeez. And then, okay, we have a page for Chiyo. Misugiya Chiyo. And then, I'm actually looking now at the kanji and stuff. So they are the Misugiya family. Okay. So 30 Tree Valley? Or would that be 30 Tree Hill? Misugiya. That might be 30 Tree Hill, I think. Yeah. And then Thousand Nights would be the kanji for her name. Kaoru and Hinata's mother, 40 years old, not just a housewife. She works at the local town hall. She assists her father Hyogo with much of the work in the off-limits area of the mountain, having taken on the duties that come with being the mountain's guardian. She once had strong psychic abilities, but gradually lost them with the birth of each of her children. Her spiritual sensitivity was particularly affected, now being almost entirely gone. When Dara told Chiyo the truth to an extent, she reminded Chiyo that she would suffer from a curse if she ever shared the information with anyone. With how seriously she took this warning, there was no chance for her to find out that the curse merely causes sudden mouth sores that makes it painful to speak. Okay. Cute outfit. I'm really interested in more then, especially because now at this point, she could just interact with Dara-san and stuff. I feel like at this point she could. Like, now that Dara-san is Dara-san and the way that she interacts with Kaoru and Hinata, she could just interact more normally with Chiyo. And Chiyo could also share in this with her kids, you know? Then we have another bonus page. He said stuff like that, but I'll leave you some reference materials for modern styles. I made you a list. I knew the books I was using for reference were a bit old, but I can definitely detect a strong bias toward a particular subject matter. And then, no matter how much I summon creatures with huge tits, won't stop showing up. That illustrated by Chi-Chi. I think that would be actually a hilarious manga. And then we have married women's frontline instead of girls' frontline. Okay, really, really funny. A lot of the chapter was spent in, sharing Dara-san's story, her side of things, with the Misogia kids. I love all three of their facial expressions this chapter, though. They were all over the place. The comedy was so amazing. The character stuff is really well done, like I've been saying. The ending with Chio and Kaoru was so funny and so good. And then the bonus pages are really good. I love these bonus pages. They're always like some of the best stuff, really, even. So yeah, really incredible, incredible stuff. And with that aside, I was just glancing through the translator's notes. With that aside, we have one more chapter, so let's go check that out. And it looks like 23 is starting with us getting new flashback characters, which I think is great. What's your business with Sensei? The man lived in a remote mountainous region far from the capital. How many years has it been since we've had a visitor from the outside? His name was Kenju. Why'd you come all the way out here seeking a suspicious old man like myself? Could this be some peculiar curiosity of yours, or has desperation carried you my way? I came here to show you this. He had been a disciple of a certain Onmyoji, but after indiscriminately studying forbidden techniques on his own, he was excommunicated and said to have voluntarily given up his family name. This is a rather old letter of introduction, but I do remember it. This was back from when I took care of those dissimilar twin sisters when they were little. You seem in good health, but your face tells me a different story. Come on in, let's hear what you have to say. Jirota told him about how the sisters vanquished Yamatagi Madara, his own speculations, and about the message on the wooden slip supposedly left behind by the younger sister priestess. I see. If the story about the priestess turning into that creature is true, we'd have about 6 years left. They proceeded to discuss things in order. In the meantime, what do we do about a curse like that? Do you want to learn the wisdom and techniques to be able to handle it yourself? I know it's a tall order, but please, 2 months. It'll be a foundational course on the basics of transporting, managing, and maintaining cursed tools. That's about the extent of what you'll learn this time. I've done a lot of despicable things in my line of work. For a time I took jobs where I placed deadly curses on people. I don't deserve it, but I've been treated quite well here. If one of my disciples fucked up using a forbidden technique that I taught them myself, it's a pain, but it's up to me to clean up my own mess. I'm not sure if I'll be able to meet your expectations, and I don't even know if I'll live 6 more years. But I'll take on a new disciple this one last time. I really love continuing the flashback story. Jirota is becoming one of my favorite characters in the serious side of things. I love this stuff. I think the serious side of things has been written so well. I suppose it's unavoidable. For the next 2 months, Jirota learned the basics of the techniques from Kenju, as well as the skills to handle all kinds of tools. They prepared for the journey. Issues with a god of the land must be dealt with on that very land. That is to say, Kenju was pushing his old body, determined to enter the mountain where the great demon slept. Sorry, hiccup. I've got some sad news for you, Dara-san. Well, it seems like whatever it is might not be that sad, but shoot. It's about the long weekend coming up. I'm heading out with... Sorry. I just got hit by the phone case. I'm heading out with my dad for the first time in a while, so I won't be able to visit the mountain. I see. You've definitely got your father's genes, you know. Don't go around spreading curses for nothing if you get lonely, Kay. You're more than welcome to join me if you'd like to, you know. Trying his hardest. Who does this kid think he is, saying something so lofty like that? Dara-san's face. And then 23rd strange encounter. Okay, swimsuit time. We have baskets, monkos. I have no... Oh, basket mankoes, maybe? I was thinking like monokes, like mononokes, but no. Or then like mon because of like monsters. Like, is this like a sort of old school Pokemon, Digimon, and all the other similar types of things reference? And of course, the manga in the background is insane. Why can't you just come with us? For the time being, I'm worshipped as the god of this land. It's not so easy for me to leave this place for a day trip. Hangs up. No luck, huh? Who are you talking to on the phone? Our friend, since we won't be around over the long weekend. Ah, I see. William, the Misugiya sibling's father, is an ophthalmologist of Australian parentage. We should buy some souvenirs for your friend. Oh, yeah. Akashi Kaikyo Bridge. You sure know your stuff, huh? He became a naturalized citizen of Japan at age 10 along with his parents and older brother. Sometime later, he met Chiyo and married her. Again, we heard older brother from Tomita before, or at least just brother. We don't know older or younger. But hearing brother here just makes me think we're going to have like insane uncle lore, aren't we? we are, aren't we? This time, because it coincided with a conference, the long weekend turned into a short trip. Moreover, the venue was near where his father-in-law Hyogo's younger sister lived, the home he married into. Okay, hold on then. His father-in-law Hyogo's younger sister, so grandpa that they're around, the grandpa that they're around's younger sister, so Chiyo's aunt. In other words, Hinata and Kaoru ended up staying at their great-aunt's house. William, I heard you're doing well for yourself. You made it. And then, yeah, because it's his father-in-law's younger sister, not his actual, parents' relatives or anything. Come on in and kick your shoes off. Thanks, Shinji-san, Shizue-san. I appreciate the warm welcome. Hinata, long time no see. You too, Kaoru-kun. Yay. Fuyuko-chan, I didn't know that you were coming up too. I heard that they were both coming this time, so I decided I'd stay at Grandma's house over the long weekend with them. Okay, so again, just trying to run through the family tree in my head. So, cousin in that they share great-grandparents. The next day, their father went into town for work. The siblings got their cousin to drive them to the beach. Okay, so this is maybe what I saw then. We do have beach episode, beach chapter. Then, for people raised in a landlocked prefecture in the mountains, that ocean smell really hits the spot. Breathing in the sublime beauty of a rocky seashore. What shoriness! This is just a small beach that doesn't get many tourists since there's not much to see. I mean, the shore is mostly just gravel. Don't discount how nice the rocky areas of the beach can be, or like this can be. Whoa! Insane panel. If he's gonna be like that, I should probably keep an eye on him. You too, Hinata. Don't run off anywhere dangerous. Got it. Kaoru-kun, wear a jacket if you're gonna go beyond the shoreline. Oh. And then we have geared up searching for clams, I guess. She prefers clam digging and observing the tide pools to swimming. Geared up, Hinata. We have Shudder. And see, I actually have no idea what Kaoru is doing at this point. But at first I thought it was just, acclimating. Because when you get into the water, as a guy, you have to prepare, Then I could feel it coming on as soon as I took off my pants. There's nobody around, but I don't really want to drop one where we're going to be playing later. Oh. And I don't really like the idea of letting my human dignity loose into a corner somewhere either. I'm pretty sure we passed a store on the way from the parking lot. I can probably just use their bathroom. It's true. Hatagame-sama is real. My great-grandma said so. Are you both senile or something? I've never heard of a god like that. It would be so funny if we just build out the lore by continuing to introduce more supernatural creatures too. That I feel like it might not be good if we go too far with that with supernatural stuff other than Dara-san, but There's also a certain degree to which it would be fun to add in more supernatural stuff. She said that everyone used to pray to them back in the day. If that's true, then why aren't they upset that nobody worships them anymore? They're real. I don't know what kind of god Watagame-sama is, but they're real. Just maybe terrifying the kids, but also maybe having a you could be a hero too moment. There's no way they're real, dummy. Don't let those geezers pull a fast one on you. Don't let that stuff get to you. And then the kid runs off. Hey, Watagame-sama? You know about that one, right? I might have heard something about it a long time ago. So they really do. It would, again, just be funny if their cousin has had their own Dara-san plotline going on this whole time with Watagame-sama and they just have to hide it. They've just also had their own plotline going on. What kind of god are they? This all happened when I was really young, you know. As far as the details go, well, I'm pretty sure there was this photo in my dad's album. Oh, here it is. Looks like they're a god of the sea. And we see this old photo. They held these festivals back before the war. The remnants of the festival grounds may or may not still exist, but that altar and big urn from the photo, those are definitely gone. That all likely fell by the wayside as the war, disasters, and other ongoing troubles drew people's attention. A water god. Or goddess. Maybe? It's unclear if they're a goddess or not. Let's just make her a goddess, so we can throw a beautiful goddess festival that'll revitalize the town. I think that should be a bit outside of the scope of an elementary schooler. And we have their idea of Watagame. And Hongshu sound effect. At the very least, I don't recall hearing about that, says Dara-san. But back in the day, there was a sea god called Watatsumi or Watanokami. Wata, like the ocean. And then Wata as in water. Translator's note. It makes sense as a name. I see. But regardless, it might be best for you to avoid getting involved. There are many gods that have faded away, fallen out of favor, and disappeared over the years. Among them, there are those whose beliefs have become warped or distorted. Some say they go crazy after being abandoned. As they say, it's best to let sleeping spirits lie. It seems like there are multiple shrines with their own festivals, but none of them seem related, and we have former Nukitawa festival site. Watanuki, Wata, and then maybe I'm looking into it too much. Translators note the ta in Nukitawa means rice field. If you read the characters literally, seems it's about rice fields. Isn't that kind of a weird place, or weird for a place near the sea? I'm borrowing your bike. Okay. And then take care, call me if you get lost. And we just have the other two gaming as Hinata takes off. This is surprisingly strict. And again, it's similar. It's a no trespassing thing similar to and maybe the kid was saying it because the kid is the one going through a Dara-san type story. But it's similar to their fenced off area of the mountain. The ruin should be past this embankment and the fence. They said it's been here since before the war, so it makes sense that their safety standards were more lax back then. I looked it up. From yesterday, I'm Tomotaka. You believe in the god too, right? I'm Hinata. You bet I do. There's a mountain god in my hometown too. And then she's a blurter. Really? Did you want to see them? Those festival area ruins. I'll tell you the story of Watagame-sama along the way. I should mention, though, the story's from my great-grandmother. So is she the sexy type, or maybe the looks pure but isn't type? What the hell are these visuals? No idea. That's so funny. And I really hope we continue this. I love sort of expanding the world of Dara-san more. The way they take a sort of real world kind of setting, but develop this lore around it is so fun. They've done such a good job with this. And now we see Nita family, the family that Shizue, the younger sister of the siblings' grandfather Hyogo, married into. She lives together. Okay, so Nita is the surname for her husband. She lives together with her husband Shinji. Their son and his wife live some distance away, and their granddaughter Fuyuko lives with her parents while commuting to college. However, she doesn't love living far from the sea and frequently stays over at her grandparents' house. Alright, really cool. I hope we see more with them too. And now we see young adult comics, what Dara-san was reading. How did you... Along with everything else that had been left behind in Dada's nostalgic home in the other world was a large stash of comic books. However, these are the Cutlass of Blood and Contract, where a woman who committed suicide due to harassment turns into an evil spirit and possesses the victims to brutally murder the perpetrators, and the grotesque mecha action comic R7, which at a first glance appears to be a normal robot story until you discover the mech operates by sacrificing an orphan girl. Dada-san was hesitant to let an elementary and middle schooler read these books depicting bloody violence and explicit sexual scenes, so she decided to hide them, but it was no use. Of course, with those two. Okay, I really, really loved it. I really hope we continue to get more of this stuff, because the serious side of the story's done so well. The comedy's incredible, the art's amazing, and I love the way they've built the world and what they could do continuing to expand it and stuff here. And, like, give us more new characters. Between the flashback new characters and the present story new characters, we got so many more. But with all that aside, I think I will end things here. I don't have too much to say other than, the way too long intro. I guess I'm leaving it in, but I'm not really happy with how long it is. The way too long intro, followed by, the constant glazing of the chapters themselves. With all that aside, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there too. Tell me what you thought of this set of chapters, my first thoughts and reaction. Subscribe for more Reiwa no Dara-san, much more on the channel. If you want to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks or sharing around, it's appreciated. If you want to help support the channel by becoming a member patron, hit join down below to become a member. Go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or link will be in the description to become a patron. Thank you to people who are already members and patrons: chosen regulars Evan Holly and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls Didi, Ban and Maru, Sheridan Student, David Langstaff, Slayer Candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element Pater Dial. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.